Hello, thank you for joining us. This is My Business, Your World. I'm your host, Dr. Graham. Today we have our guest is Mrs. Lorena Clark. Mrs. Clark is a wellness, skin and nutritional consultant. She's also a holistic health practitioner and educator, Reiki master, and a business developer. She's been in business for 18 years, mother of two, and she also has her master's in special education. Actually, she has her master's in education, special ed with a bilingual extension. You also have your bachelor's in business management and communication, and you're also a holistic coach, which you received from the Institute of Integrated Nutrition. All right, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Now tell me a little bit about, let's talk about, I know you have a passion for helping families and individuals. And I think here it also says in your bio, we talk a little bit about therapy and educational development support that you provide for families from ages 0 to 3. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I started when my education career in 1995 when I graduated from Adelphi University. I started teaching in the New York City Department of Education. And I taught my favorite grades were kindergarten, first and second. And at the same time, I started doing evaluations and therapy for children from 0 to 3. So as my business started growing, I decided to retire from my education career in the Department of Education and focus on that population. I usually treat children who are tested, and they're tested, they either have a speech development or some kind of disability, and we work as a team. And I've been doing it for 18 years. We go to the home, and it's called early intervention. And what we do is help the families with speech development, cognitive development, and play therapy. So I'm one of the team, and I've been doing it for 18 years. And we also do a lot of parenting and parent development and teach the parents how to interact with the kids so they can enhance the cognitive abilities and the play abilities, because everybody learns by playing. So I've been doing that for 18 years, and a very successful practice.
Okay, very good. Now, what made you start that?
Well, I have a passion for helping families. I think that everything starts from the home. I mean, when the children already are in school, they already bring stuff from home. So when you get the foundation of what the family is, you have to be in the home of those children, and you have to help the parents to get the best out of them. And even though they're little, the parents need a lot of help because nobody comes with a manual of how to be a parent. So I am really passionate about helping, and especially the Hispanic community, because they don't have the skills and they don't have the language to, it's better to teach them in their language and then transition it into English later on.
Okay. Now, why did you pick special ed, or why did you go into education? Because now you've also transitioned from education, which we'll talk about in a little while, wellness, health and wellness, or health and nutrition. So why did you pick, what was the drawing to go into education? What happened for you? What was that key moment? I guess this probably goes back a little bit to your earlier years, maybe?
Exactly. I was actually in banking, and I was a teller supervisor, and I was like, I finished my bachelor's in management from Adelphi, and I was like, where's my real passion? And since I was a little girl, I always used to play school. And my friends were just telling me, you know what, why don't you just, the community needs you, why don't you just go into education? You know, when I was in high school, we went to the poorest places of the cities where I grew up in Ecuador and a park. And we went and we used to teach children and adults how to read and write. And I remember my principal telling me specifically, Lorena, you should go into education. And I just forgot about it till I was 25. And the little voice in me say, you know what, education is everything. You are worth so much more when you know more. And that is igniting me, that passion. And I listened to the voice of my friend when I was in banking, and I decided to do my master's in education. Especially, I wouldn't call it special education, I would call it exceptional education, because you are working with children to their strengths. You know, you don't work to the disabilities. So that's what ignited me and having also the flexibility to work with the parents and working at home and doing my own schedule and being free to develop my own style of teaching was a no-brainer for me.
Oh, that's really fantastic. And I think when we talk about personal development, this is just showing how something that you're passionate about, driven from very early on, kind of got sidetracked because of other things that you thought were interested in, probably were more lucrative in terms of career path. But then here it is that you weren't really satisfied and you successfully made that transition. Oftentimes we need to look to people to get good coach, good mentors to help you, and obviously individuals that you trust, if in neither or none of those capacity, that you can say, you know, this is really where I need to go and I really need to see and see how this works.
Yes. I have many mentors, and I have people who took me by the hand and showed me what to do by example. I remember a very good friend of mine who is a psychologist from Argentina who actually showed me how to do the evaluations. I copy. I made many mistakes, but I've been doing it for 18 years, and every day I think I'm learning something new about the children. And I learn from my colleagues who are wonderful, and I learn from the parents and their lives.
And being in banking, it is a service industry, also kind of helped to build and give you some resources, some really great resources, because now it helps you to hone in really well on some people skills, because that's what it is in terms of relationship. You have to nurture, you have to gain the trust, you have to build that long-standing relationship for you to be effective at helping the students, the children, and the parents themselves to get the student to excel or to be at that.
Exactly. When you go to someone's home, you go into a sacred place, and parents have to trust you. You are going to be with the most precious things they have, which is the children, and you are going into their lives. So you really have to know how to relate to them. So what you were saying about personal growth, I believe in that, and I believe that the better you are and the better person you have to be, the more you have to offer.
Let's talk a little bit, or go a little bit more in depth about the development in terms of your style and your technique of going in and also getting that ability to work with the parents, because that's very unique. And while we're seeing different trends in terms of flex hours for a lot of employees, individuals, parents who work, they don't necessarily have the time, which then leaves a lot on the plate for whomever the facilitator or whomever the specialist that's coming in to help and work with the students or the child that has the needs. Now, do you do this in a classroom setting somewhat anymore, or do you just do all one-on-one?
Well, we actually, early intervention is done at the home, because that's the environment of the child. So when we go to the homes, I mean, I'm not the first person who goes there. We have people that go before us. And of course, sometimes I get to do the evaluation if I get to the chase, or sometimes there are referrals given to us. So we go home, we go and do a very thorough interview. We go with the evaluations. We do a very informal play, and we get to know where the parents are, where the children, you know, some people take naps. Where are you going to be doing the therapy sometimes? I have many cases that we have to, well, I work on the floor most of the time, like a good therapist. We put the toys on the floor. Some children are more open to that. However, certain children have to be sometimes put in a little chair, so they can really focus on you, especially for the speech therapists. I think they have to really look at the face. So, you know, the parent participates, which is very nice. We encourage the parents to participate so they learn what we're doing and how we're doing it. And then they step a little back, they're around, they're listening to what we're doing. So it's a collaboration also in between the other therapists that are in the case. We don't do it together, but we communicate.
All right. Now, it's interesting because my experience or exposure to children who have additional needs is really limited and restricted somewhat. But recently enough, I have a family member who has a daughter with Down syndrome, and obviously it's the cognitive development. And here it is that you're sharing about, in terms of speech, and when they go in, this is someone who would benefit from that, but I don't see that happening other than going into daycare or getting into school, and the setting that they're in, obviously, that's what or where that is. How would a parent then get help, the additional help? Because I believe the formative years are key, because this is where you set them up to be very successful. And for the most part, I see her, she's very bright. And I think she's way ahead in terms of what we think or we perceive. But if the right tools or right training that it needs to help that is not there, then it becomes a disadvantage, not just in the formative years, but also later on.
Well, if the parent knows that a child is coming with Down syndrome, the doctors know about it. And the first thing that they do is they refer the child for an evaluation, a comprehensive evaluation. The child automatically qualifies for services, either PT or OT or feeding, depends of the severity of the case. So the parent, the first contact, the first member is their pediatrician. And with them, we do the evaluations. We see how the child is. Also, a physical evaluation is done by the doctors or whoever needs to be. We check the hearing, we check the vision, that everything is okay. The kids who come with different degrees of problems. So that's the first thing. We do the evaluation, and then a plan is written for the child, and we assemble the therapy team. And that grows. From 0 to 3 is usually the county who takes care of that. Okay. And then the transition into the school program from 3 up. So that's when we come in. We come in before 3.
Okay.
And the first thing that they do, if a child already comes with a diagnosis when they're born and they discover there's something, the doctors automatically, they send him for an evaluation, and they get all the help they need.
All right. Talk a little bit about the team setting in this, and we'll try and move in a couple of different areas.
Sure.
What is, I guess, tell me a little bit about the team. Obviously, the medical practitioners are there. If the parents are there, who else is involved in this initial?
Well, initially the county, the Department of Health, the Nassau, Suffolk County, they have coordinators, and they do the initial visit, and then they send someone to do the evaluation, and it's a comprehensive evaluation. Either they get a psychologist, they get me, who I'm the educational evaluator. If the child needs a speech therapist or a physical therapist, those evaluations are done. When the child qualifies, we have, not everybody qualifies. There's certain diagnoses that already automatically, like if the child is like low birth, they would automatically qualify. If they come with a diagnosis like Down syndrome, they will qualify. So then the team is assembled. When they're little, we don't want to overwhelm them with a lot of services, because it's crazy. The parent has all the children, and the child also. So sometimes they get twice a week physical therapy, and they get once a week occupational therapy. If they have a feeding issue, they will get a feeding therapist together with a speech, and they get a teacher who does their play therapy. So that's the team effort. And of course, they have someone ongoing looking at the services that are being done. They have someone outside the service, the case, and work with the parents. You know, sometimes we offer the parents also a person. Well, that's all the time, but sometimes they need a little family training also. So that's the team effort that we do.
How long does an evaluation from you begin from the process of the county to when it gets to you? How long will that take before they start?
We have 30 to 45 days. It depends. The schools have 30 school days. We have 30 days.
All right. Let's I think we're probably getting close to coming up on our first break. I'm not sure yet. Just let's talk a little bit about. We'll talk about the health and wellness component of that, because this is also something that you're going to bring in when you're also addressing that evaluation or the needs that you're going to go into. So, just after the break, we'll pick up with that. Again, thank you for joining us today. My guest is Mrs. Clark, and this is Dr. Graham, your host, My Business, Your World. Thank you for joining us again. This is My Business, Your World. I'm your host, Dr. Graham, and my guest today is Mrs. Lorena Clark. All right, so we're coming off evaluation for students or children from 0 to 3, and then going into a little bit about wanting to talk about health and wellness. And maybe we can rein in before we go into the bigger picture of those areas specialty for you, skin, nutrition, health, wellness, Reiki, and so on, and business development. Let's maybe take a little bit of that health and wellness and how it is worked into a schedule for someone with special needs or so on.
Well, one of the biggest problems that we're having now is the inability of really control how your nutrition is, what are you eating, what types of food are you eating. And now we have a lot of people who have metabolic syndrome, diabetes too. We have many people, even the parents have overweight. I have parents who are completely not feeding the children correctly. I was very concerned about that. And also, to tell you, I was concerned about my children too. I'm a mother of two, and I saw how sometimes nutrition can impact the way they behave and the way they function. So I was alarmed a little bit about what was happening in my children's life, in my own life, and with my students' life too. So I decided to take a stand on that and learn a little bit more about it and incorporate that into my practice. And also, not into my practice, yes, but also to offer it to everyone else who needs it, because it's part of the community, helping others to be the best that they can be.
All right. Now, this industry going into the whole health and wellness is going to be a trillion-dollar industry.
Absolutely.
We're talking about things of the baby boomers living longer, healthier life, and obviously a lot of that has to do with you taking on that role and understanding that this is what's going to happen, and now making the allowances or taking the necessary precautions to be healthier and well so that you can be more productive. A lot of them are still in the workplace, and based on the Social Security system, they have to work past retirement age, whatever medial or income and so on that they're looking for. And then you look at the other end, there's not enough millennials to support them exit in as well. Let's talk about that industry, because it's really interesting to see its growth, but then it's also a little, it seems as if it's a little saturated. You know, everyone's trying to either go in or get on. How do you remain competitive? How do you differentiate yourself?
Well, as you say, wellness is a huge industry. It's a trillion-dollar industry. However, it doesn't mean that everything is created equal. And we all are bio individuals. So how do you differentiate yourself? I happen to work with systems that are natural and there are breakthroughs. So that's the way is based on clinical, very science. Anyone who goes into one of our systems, even if their children is plenty of research in that. Because you do have to know what you're ingesting and what are you doing with your body. Wellness can be many, many things. It depends on what you eat, what you drink, what you put on your face. So it's a big, big, big. I happen to like to work with nutrition and resetting people's metabolism and working with children who have disabilities and teaching the parents how to feed them. I have training in both. As a holistic practitioner, I have training in, how to get them going and how to set a plate for them, especially working with the Hispanic population. We eat different from the American culture, even though we're all assimilating very well. So you have to really know what you're doing. It's not so hard. It starts with your breakfast, like what your mother said. You have to have the correct breakfast, and you have to be sure that you're not eating a lot of carbohydrates and a lot of sugars that are going to spike your sugar levels and send you into an uproar. And if you have children, you know what's going to happen when they get to school. The teacher is going to have a great day with them when they go load up with those wonderful sugary cereals and colors and stuff. So that's the way, you teach the parents how to do it. And I happen to work with excellent systems. They're all natural. They're all breakthroughs that will help them to make it easier.
All right. I know some fact, some components of systems are oftentimes cost, but if it's supplemented, probably makes it a little easier. But I'm a little from the old school where whether or not we wanted to have breakfast, we had to be up probably by 5:30, 6 o'clock the very latest, to get to school because classes started either 7 and so on, or devotions and so on, and then you go into class, is to at least make sure that we had something hot in our system,
Exactly.
tea. And we do not understand that just having the tea actually does something to the self and helps you, and it's not sugary and so on. With the carbs, you must have something to eat. If it's a little piece of bread and butter, it's something that sustains you versus all the sugar, because you crash and you burn it. And it depends on your system. We don't really get it. And as I've gotten younger, I have realized that there's certain things that once you put it in your system, it just automatically rejects it. So either you feel sick, you feel sluggish, you're cranky. It does something. So you know what you shouldn't be putting in, no matter if you have an allergy. I have allergies, and I know without someone telling me what they've given me that I've taken something that my body is going to reject some way or the other. So let's talk a little bit, I guess, the cost component of some of the systems, I guess.
Yes, actually, I wouldn't even say cost. I would say that it's an investment. I was with a client today, and she had a kidney infection, laid in bed because she didn't take care of her health. So what's going to happen? She can't work. She can't take care of the children. So instead of the cost, I see your health as an investment. We spend so much money in other things that are not doing anything for us. I've seen people that will spend money on liquor, or they will spend money on sugar, cereals, cookies, when you can redirect into eating better foods. So if I recommend a system that is all natural, it will be a reinvesting of the dollars that will make them live longer and feel better and look younger. So the way that we have to start doing is changing our minds now. That we are a temple, and we have to invest in this temple. And we have little temples running around, which are our children, that we have to give them the best food and the best water possible for them to make them grow, to help them grow and have the energy to really focus. Because sometimes in the morning, if you're all over with the sugar, where are you going to go? You're going to be all scattered. So for me, the cost is very reasonable what we put them on. And also, I don't see it as a cost. I see it as an investment on your health and how you're going to feel and how you're going to be productive.
It's interesting. I know that there are a number of challenges that come up with in terms of actually going on to a system in whatever transition period you have before you can actually become one with that. So then this becomes a way of life for you. But it's important that you start with the parents and so on to filter down, because that's where the behavior needs to be changed so that it's replicated. But oftentimes, I guess not oftentimes, sometimes or at times, you see that they're trying, but they're still giving the children still the bad stuff because it satisfies them or keeps them quiet, or just that they just buy it because it's there, and if the kids are bored, that's what they're doing. And I want to talk a little bit about, because I think in terms of helping with obesity, this is where, because they can have the cookies or the muffin or the candy or whatever, they're in playing games and sitting watching TV, that the same programs repeated over and over again, that they should be outside. Even if it's cold, go run and play around.
Exactly.
Do things.
Absolutely.
Because we're talking about juvenile or early stages of juvenile diabetes. Why? Why are we then doing this to our own kids that we love so much?
Exactly. And what I always say, the parents have to start first. They have to be an example. If someone is overweight, it didn't take them overnight. It didn't take them 30 days to become overweight. It takes you years. And in order for you to go back to where you were, it's going to take you time. Listen, at least to reset your metabolism when you get older, at least it takes 90 days. I've been on this journey for almost 4 years since I had my second child. So it takes time, and it takes education, and it takes the drive or want to do it when you think, I am ready. I'm ready to change my life as a parent, and I'm ready to teach my children how to do it too.
It's very interesting because I think we all want the overnight success. And while I know a lot of these systems work, it's that we don't understand that there's other steps and other things that you have to work. And anything that's too radical is not healthy for the system. Exactly as you said. It took you, unless for medical reasons, certain things happen where people gain their number of different illnesses, that they gain weight overnight, just like that, different glands or different things are not working, they wait to their being now diagnosed with something that they didn't have before. But it took you time to get to that point. And every point that the body knows, you feel it on the bones, you feel it in the joints, you feel it in how you behave. I don't know about anyone else, and I'm not that in line with my own system. I know I'm a relatively healthy person, a healthy eater, and very conscious. But some of these things is because it came second nature. You were chatting a little bit about food groups. I know the carbs that we eat, but it's prepared. I'm like, oh, I don't go home and have it to nuke anything. You know, when I'm looking at it, thank God, I'm coming out to prepared food, something that's good and that's healthy. So let's go, I guess, to our next break. Time's run flies when you're having fun. And then we'll just chat a little bit more about that and go into a couple of things in terms of business development and some initiatives or groups that you're involved with.
Thank you.
Again, this is My Business, Your World. I'm your host, Dr. Graham. My guest today is Mrs. Lorena Clark. Hi, thank you for joining us again. This is My Business, Your World. I'm your host, Dr. Graham, with my guest, Mrs. Lorena Clark. Lorena, we're chatting about nutrition and health and wellness and some of the unhealthy things that are the outcomes of not being healthy. While in the break, we're chatting a little bit about probiotics, and you know, it makes all the difference. Let's just pick up on that and just, you know, your thoughts and why it's so important.
Well, you know, we're all born with a certain amount of good bacteria in our body, and you know, the umbilical cord is over here. So this is a very important part of your body. So if you don't have this correct, you're not going to assimilate your food. Your immunity is going to be low, and you're going to have a whole host of problems. So having a good probiotic in your system is a good way to prevent from disease, and also it's a good way your body is ready to fight any problems that you get. You know, we had so much thrown at us. So having a probiotic that is correct for you is a first step to your health. And you have to have the right one, because there's many things that are sold on the retail that are really, you know, people think because you have yogurt is good. But yogurt tastes good, but by the time it gets to your gut, all the good bacteria is gone. A lot of us have taken a lot of antibiotics, and we have killed a lot of the good bacteria. So that is key. I mean, I can tell you a lot about it, but the ones that are the better are the ones that are triple coated. So when you ingest it, they get to your gut correct. And my son has been taking a probiotic since he's in 3rd grade. And, well, I don't know if this is wood.
Oh, yeah, well, knock on wood.
Knock on glass. He is in a great health. And I am taking it too, and I think they work. This is just a little change that you can do, and even having foods that also have a lot of good bacteria, you know, like in Korea they had that really sour, I think it's either cauliflower or something that you can buy, and that also helps you have ingest foods that have that bacteria. But a good probiotic, yogurts are great, but it has to be really triple coated so it gets to your gut.
Okay. Well, that's one of the reasons they tell you that even though we are trying to eat healthy and doing all of certain things, there's only about so much that you can really take in without actually taking in supplements. And depending on where you are in your lifestyle, that's how you know what you need to incorporate or not. Now, let's talk a little bit about, I know you belong to a number of different groups and a number of different causes that you're involved with. Let's talk about some of those. Share with us some of those.
Well, I do. I belong to many network groups. I'm a networker. I love making good friends. That's how I met you. The first time we met was in the Hispanic Chamber on Christmas. So it's going to be a year next year that I met you.
You're keeping track.
I am, because I made many good friends then. Um, and 90 day, it was like last year, I was on a conference call with my business. And, there's many people, I went into this challenge. And one of the challenge, parts of the challenge was that you're supposed to have a cause. So I said, I have many friends. I have many people that have different business. Why don't we make a group of women that we can network, help each other grow our business, but work for a cause? So I'm the president for this group. It's called Women Networking for a Cause. That is a year old already, and it started at a bar, and then we migrate to my house, to my living room, and we have formed this beautiful group of women, and it has worked wonders. I mean, the good friendships, the energy is great in the group. Not only I have clients, I have helped other people make connections, and it has worked. And now we are so blessed that we can have our meetings at the beautiful Lauren Taylor Sarah Beth restaurant. They were so gracious to offer the restaurant for us that we can go and have our meetings, and we meet, and I give the women a minute or two to introduce themselves, and I usually have a speaker come, to the 10 minutes about what they're doing, either credit counseling. Mm-hmm. I have people who do different types of healing techniques, and of course, like we're going to have one in December 4th, and we're going to collect toys. We have collected money for different causes. We collected the first year we collected for Feel Better Kids, and this year we're collecting for the Hispanic Brotherhood of Nassau County. So I'm very excited, and also the Cuban Civic Club, which we are trying to expand. So that's my my baby, my network group, and of course I love to go to other ones and meet people and help each other. It's all about networking, letting people know what you're doing. Otherwise, how are you going to grow?
That's exactly correct. 80% of any business opportunities you're going to get are going to come from those networking opportunities. Exactly. And most of the important thing is that you have to pay in, and that's what you're doing. That people have to see that it's worth their time. They're mm-hmm. putting in an investment, and when you have an intimate group, it doesn't have to be a huge group. I think the smaller, more mm-hmm. personal and intimate, you'll get more value for it. You want to grow, sure, but you still have to remember that if your members are key, mm-hmm. you have to be able to help to make them be as successful as they'd like to. Yeah. And oftentimes when you grow beyond a certain number, you lose sight of it. So there's not a lot of value for the majority, so to speak. So barring that and starting at a bar, what do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? Definitely not going to the bar. Well, I love cooking. I love dancing. I love to go to Zumba classes. I'm actually a Zumba instructor, but I don't have a classroom yet because I am so busy with other things. I love to hang out with my children. My daughter is my angel, and my son is absolutely wonderful. So I have a lot of family time. I try to squish as much because that's first, my spirituality, my family time. I love to go to Zumba. I love to meet with my partners in my business. They are wonderful. My mentors are amazing. And I love to try new places. I love to meet people and see, what is their life like? I get a kick out of that, and meeting people that are doing different things. And I also belong to the Holistic Network. We have bazaars in the city once a month, and I meet the most amazing people. That just going to the city and meeting these bazaars and meeting all these people and making friends, and you eat different foods. It's just an amazing way of having fun, I think. Dancing and trying new foods, meeting people, spending time with your family. And, I love Latin dance. I wish I could do more of it. It's not as much, but time is limited. But that's what I do for fun.
Really? I'm rather surprised. But then talk about how do you balance? Obviously, your personal and family life and space is that important. You balance it with the other elements of health and wellness mm-hmm. and holistic practices to kind of get you to the places and the points that you are dancing and so on. But how do you balance, because it seems that you have a very busy business mm-hmm. Professional life with family. And how old are your children?
Well, my son is 12 and my daughter's 9.
Okay.
So I go by certain rules. I, first of all, I try to wake up early, and my spiritual life is very important to me. My connection with the universe and the Creator, it's number one for me because I need to be grounded to do everything I have to do. So my spirituality comes first. So I try to ground myself in the morning. I try to already know what I'm going to do. And then after my spirituality comes my family, which is, you know, after spiritual, your family and taking care of them. I am so blessed. I have a flexible work schedule. I put my kids on the bus. I give them breakfast, and I'm out to work. I have a schedule from 9 to 2. When I come back home, I usually, my children are home from sometimes 2:30, 3:30. Homework is done, meals are prepared, and then they go to the activities, and then I do my networking events. I have my business meetings, call people on the phone. I have presentations. And one thing I don't do, and I think it's a good, I don't watch TV. I don't, I can't, I don't have the patience for that. So that's one thing I caught. I don't, a lot of negativity in my life, a lot of TV I don't watch. Things that are not going to make me grow, I don't do. So first, my spirituality, my family, work, and then fun.
Now, people will say, I agree with you with the television bit because myself, I didn't grow up really having television. It was the radio, and then it was more information. So there are many forums to getting information, and a little television doesn't hurt. I love old movies, and I mean old movies. I mean old movies. Now, there's some that certain types I'm not into, but depending on how they're done, especially the older ones, usually makes it so much more. It's so much more relatable and not over the top, so even kids can watch it. I'm trying to remember the show that it's with Lucille Ball, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. My nephews, when they came, we saw it and we rented it, but it was full of Brush Girl. They were hysterical laughing, and I'm like, these are kids. They don't even, but just some of the silly things in the behaviors. So how many shows kids can really watch today with adults in them without PG stuff or so on? I like the History Channels and National Geographic and those kind of things where I'm getting something in. So, and my favorite channel is a channel guide.
My kids love the travel channel.
Jazz, just music in the background, very low, very where you can think, and if you're needing to do something or wrap something up, then that's it. Now, let's talk a little bit about business development and personal growth. Obviously, starting with the spirituality aspect of who you are and nurturing and taking care of your family, and then transitioning into your business and what the needs are for your partners, your colleagues, and your clients. Talk about a little bit about personal growth and business development.
I have been on this journey of personal growth, probably 5 years. And I found that the more personal growth, you can make a fortune because the people get attracted to who you are and what light do you bring in. And I believe in that. I absolutely believe in creating your definite purpose in life, reading it aloud. I believe in affirmations. I believe in meditation. I believe in having a spiritual practice that is going to make you shine, and it makes you better. So the personal growth, it can be in various things. That's one of the things. I always like learning new things, reading new books, learning about, when I started learning about my Reiki practice, it was so I can channel energy, not only for myself, but give it to others. When I read books, I love reading Dale Carnegie. I love reading Jim Rohn. I love reading, working on yourself. It's the most amazing thing because if you're not happy with what you are, you're not going to be happy. People are not going to be happy for you. So you have to really know yourself and have what do you want? What do you discover what you're here for? And if you discover and where you're going, that's half your life is going to be much better.
It's priceless. Let's go to our next break. I believe it's about that time.
Right.
Again, it's My Business, Your World. I'm your host, Dr. Graham, with my guest, Mrs. Lorena Clark. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us again, My Business, Your World. Dr. Graham with my guest, Mrs. Lorena Clark. Lorena, thank you for joining us.
Thank
if I
you.
don't get an opportunity to just say it, we're on our last segment, and I wanted to kind of wrap up, pick up a little bit back where we're talking about being focused and centering on core and having that oneness to know where it is or what you're here for, because it makes a difference in terms of the chaos and some of the challenge. Not that they don't come, but you handle them a lot differently. They go a lot of different ways, which is more effective than if you're going against the grain. So let's talk about having, understanding or identifying that, and then talk about some of the challenges as a business owner that you've experienced, and kind of let's wrap up with where do you see yourself in another 3 to 5 years. Just backing up a little bit, when you started, if you didn't start in the area you did, you would not have been able to become one with where it is that you feel that you are now and where it is that you need to be.
Having a business, you have a business too, and it's challenging. It's an investment of time and money. Sometimes the clients are here, sometimes you have partners who disappear, or sometimes you have difficulty finding good partners that want to run with you, because I am looking for partners that want to run with our projects. And it is, but you have to be mentally strong to know that the business go up and down, and sometimes you go like this. So what do? So that's when you take out your goals and you readjust what you're doing and see what's working. If your marketing working, are you wasting your time with the wrong people? Are you wasting your time with the wrong client? Or are you giving too much? It's nothing. You had to change and you had to adjust. I had adjusted many times. And there are certain things that are being a waste of money and time. And so you have to have a very direct marketing. You have to know who are you servicing. You have to let go of certain things. And you have to sacrifice. It's a lot of times that I don't want to do it. But, I have a goal. Like you were asking me, in 5 years, I want to have a thriving practices. I want to have a lot of partners. I want to have a lot of referrals. I want to service my community. I'm working on a lot of projects to serving children and teaching them how to change their mind so they can become entrepreneurs when they're a little older. So I have very big goals. And I know, and I've been doing already a lot of readjustment. And I know I'm going to have to expand, and I'm prepared for that. I know it's an investment of time and money, but we're here for a long run. So in 5 years, I see my practice and my business growing immensely.
All right. Now, I know you're pretty much mostly in Nassau.
Yes.
Do you probably go a little bit in the city? And I think you belong to, is it the Queens Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Women Hispanic Chamber of
Exactly.
Commerce?
That's a wonderful chamber. The Queens Chamber. It's the all women, and it's in Queens. Queens is an amazing place to network and to grow your business. I'm mostly in Nassau. I travel to Manhattan. I am going to, my friends have an event for her bridal expo, which is going to happen in March. I'm going to go to Manhattan. Sometimes I meet my clients in Manhattan. Sometimes I go to Manhattan for fun when I go to my bazaars. So I travel. Because in order for you to expand, you start local, but you have to expand. I'm planning to go international. I want to meet people who are in Canada. I want to meet people who are in Asia that can use what I offer. I want to meet people, that speak different languages and expand. So.
Well, the market is there for it, and when you talk about health and wellness, Asia and those countries in Europe and in Canada are definitely areas that you would need to spread your wings out to, or your arms. But in addition to some of the needs or focus that you have a little different, is I think that's how that will help you to differentiate yourself, because you can go in and also develop training programs for institutions or families that are in these areas which will stand to benefit. You have to start and build. When you're building a community, you build small, and you have to build that community. You have to make your brand and so on.
Excellent.
Any takeaways that you want to share with our viewers to tell them in terms of, you know, any one tough story, any one best moment for you? And it's been 18 years, and sure, it's been, you know, nice
Absolutely.
waves here or there and some bad ones, but what makes you still successful and still driven to become very successful?
I would say that one of the toughest times that I had, it was when my pediatric practice took a tumble when we had the big collapse and my rates went down and I had to reinvent myself to do something else. That's why I came back to nutrition and trying to help my community. That was a big wake-up call for me, that I had a limit on how much I can earn by having your own business. You don't have a limit. And I also think that we're blessed to be in New York, that we can grow our businesses with any kind of population. If you want to expand to Russia, you can build in Brooklyn. If you want to expand to Asia, you can bring in Queens. We have the Hispanics. We are the number one population. Everybody wants to get in with the Hispanics to grow because we like to spend money. So it's been up and down. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself and how much can I sacrifice and also I have seen the children that have service and the parents, and when they are 3 years old and when they get out, and after the little bit I contribute has been priceless. But also people that I help with their health, people that are able to tell me now, you know, Lorena, I can wear these shoes, I can wear this size because I lost 40 pounds. When I see my own doctor who is in the lowest dose on metformin and he's telling me, wow, I really feel great, I don't have to take as much medication. When I see my own mother also feeling great, and when I see my own son also doing great, and it's priceless. And if I can help someone else make money and partner with me, that will make my day. So it's been up and down. It's mostly up and a learning curve because we're here to learn. So I think I have learned a lot through the process of having my own business and having a business was completely different from what my education and transition from being a kindergarten teacher to having a home-based business and then getting into nutrition and expanding into that. And now we're expanding into skin, which is another amazing industry and very glamorous, which I love. It's amazing. I mean, I can see in 10 years, in 5 years, it's going to be an amazing learning experience for us.
That's great. One of the messages I always try to share with individuals and business owners, small, mid-size, whomever it is, colleagues, is that there are many opportunities for growth. And it's really at the end what you're looking for and where it is. You have to go in and readjust some of those goals or strategies that you're looking at, and you have to get your team to actually widen their spectrum or their views to see what's actually going on in the bigger picture. You have on Long Island a lot of small companies that should be mid-sized, and they're stuck in that mold. You can't tell them that they should move, but it's just a matter of time. There's not much niche areas left, and even for individuals who are looking for job opportunities. At the end of the day, just like you shared, it's not so much so that you went to school for something. It's that you had transferable skills.
Exactly.
It's the same thing that transfer in a business. You're going to go into a business. What is it that you can do? You can learn industry and get industry experience. There's certain things that you bring to an organization that it's just what transfer and what makes a difference, and is that the key for you. Now, let's talk a little bit, I guess, while we're wrapping up. We didn't touch much on the obesity and even diabetes, which I know is a big issue, and I know we're probably coming up on our final minute of the break. Any takeaways? Any takeaways that you want to share, or as you've seen, any?
Exactly.
Like maybe tell me one or two success stories, so we'll wrap up with that.
I think obesity is going to be one of the biggest problems that we have now is metabolic syndrome and obesity. and people having a lot of problems because that creates other problems, being obese, the lack of, activity. And I have many people who are using the systems that I offer for them, having tremendous success. I have people who are lost over 60 pounds, just switching what they do for breakfast and having a regular meal. I have people with digestive issues that are also doing terrific with what we put them on. And I think if you don't feel good about what you're doing, I mean, if you didn't, like I told you before, obesity is going to be great, but diabetes is going to even kill more people, diabetes too. And you're going to have people that you look, they're very skinny. However, they had diabetes. Like many children in all over the world, you can see pictures of them. They all look skinny. Yeah, but they all had diabetes.
Well, it's a misunderstanding, and I think a lot of people think by not eating actually is healthier. And I actually have hypothyroid. I was diagnosed when I was very young, but didn't even know what that could have been or so on and so forth. But here it is, if you don't eat. I remember while I was going to college, I just never had time. And one summer I said, you know what, let me go. I joined Lucille Roberts. Their hours were not convenient, but I had to try and see if I could do something. And there was a gentleman that actually worked at that gym, and we're just chatting. I'm like, I'm burning like over 1,000 or whatever fat, so on. So I should be like, and muscle bound and everything. And then he said, what are you eating? I'm like, oh, I usually am busy, a cup of tea, and, then lunch or something, and then dinner maybe or so on. But that made all the difference, because here it is, I'm like, then I saw something, and the reason why that question came up, they had this diet thing. I don't do diet.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I did was I looked at it and said, it's a lot of work, but let me just at least try. It's not things that I don't have or won't. So it's just heating up the waffle, taking it to work with me, and when throughout my day, even though I'm not eating it at a set time, I would eat my waffle and I have a couple of strawberries or whatever it was. And that made the difference, because I plumped up, and that made the difference because I was working out for the weight to go. You have to fuel the body in order for you to lose weight.
And you have to fuel the body correctly.
Right.
And the best fuel that you have is protein. I know there's probably a lot of people who are vegetarians, but animal protein, if it's a grass-fed, good organic piece of meat or chicken, will fit your muscles. And you need the right amount of protein, because it has a lot of amino acids. We need that. I know sometimes people, spiritual, or some people have ethical reasons, but not everybody can be a vegetarian. And I think having a piece of chicken with a little salad and little beans is like a perfect meal.
All right. Well, this is the last. This is it for us.
Thank you.
But I know I wanted to do a quick story about. I've had a family member who was vegan for over 60 years, and when it came down to, that's what had to happen. They had to get red meat to kind of help build them back up really quickly.
Exactly.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Again, this is My Business, Your World. I'm your host, Dr. Graham. My guest today is Mrs. Lorena Clark. If you have any questions, it's 631-481-9124, or an email at info@Graham Consulting and Research. Thank you.